Hi everyone, welcome to this Advanced Steel 2020 video, and today I'm going to do a sort of a repeat of a video I did last year in Advanced Steel 2019, and this is a model in minutes. So Advanced Steel was released today, and I'm going to jump straight in and start detailing a very quick model to show how simple and easy this can be. So I'm going to start with going to the Objects tab, and I'm going to use a grid with groups by distance. Start point of 0, 0, choose my X direction and enter a distance of 12 meters. So it's 0, 0, 12 meters, specify the direction of the group and then the spacing for each of my grid references, and each time I'm going to use 5 meters. That's going to put in 5 grids, 1 to 5, and I'm going to put balloon edging around them. So that is the grids in the X direction. Repeat the command and I'm going to do them in the Y direction, this direction, and then I'm going to put a 4 meter spacing between them. I'm going to change that to a capital letter and again put edging on it, so capital with edging, and there I have my basic grid formation. I'm then going to go to the Home tab and I'm going to use the portal frame option of the gable frame. So I'm going to select my grid reference A1. I'm just going to check my snaps. I'm going to tick on endpoint and midpoint, and that should allow me to pick these two snaps. Click enter to add the portal frame and then use the dialog box to configure it. So I'm going to put a 12-degree pitch on the roof, which will keep my eaves level at 5 meters, and I'm going to leave the sections the way that they are. So once I've got a basic portal frame in, I can jump straight to my connection vault. I've got some favorites set up, so I'm going to add a base plate, node to the concrete object, and then add a very simple base plate to the leg of the portal frame. Now a new feature in the 2020 version is the ability to propagate a connection. So what I can do is I can select the joint box, right click, and I get this new option to propagate, and what that will do is it will search the model and it will add that connection that's added to the column to the other column in the model. I'm going to do an eaves haunch from the column to the rafter, and I'm going to use the library definition, and I'm going to pick a library entry that comes with Advanced Steel. It does take, this is the first time I'm running this, so it will take a little bit of time to load the library. Once the library is loaded, I'm going to sort it by rafter, scroll down, I'm going to pick the eaves haunch connection there, and you'll see that puts up this type of connection. I'm going to quickly change possibly the cap plate, and I'm going to extend that 100 millimeters, put a full cap plate on, and we'll make that, let's say 170 to there, and a 0 gap. So once we've got that connection in, again I can propagate the connection across, and that takes it to there, and I'll do an eaves connection between the two, or an apex connection between the two rafters. Just a quick zoom in, and I'm going to take off the stiffeners, so none either side. Have a quick look at the haunch, maybe make that 250, and let's look at some of the bolt groups where we'll go with 3 and 2, and we'll put a 75mm spacing, and we'll have a little quick look and see what that looks like. So maybe change this to 75 set out, 100 spacing, and that gives me something a little bit closer to what I want. So once I've got one portal frame in, I can jump to the tools palette and transform elements, and I'm going to choose the copy option. And I'm going to select my major components, which is my rafters and my columns. I'm always going to select the outer joint box, right click, and I'm going to ensure that include additional connectors is set. I'm going to set the number of copies to 4, and I'm going to do it in the Y direction. So if I click OK, that will copy that portal frame with the connections along the Y axis of my model, and that's what I've got. I'm going to put in a tie beam, so I'm going to jump straight to the standard I-beam. Because I've got the node setting on, I can just make sure that I tick off endpoint and midpoint for this, and you can see that I can just use the node and I can draw the beam from point to point. Right click, change its positioning, and one thing, when you're drawing beams manually, just make sure you set the model role, and again I can repeat the process from there to there. And then I'm going to draw in a tie beam on the rafter. For this I'm going to go to the UCS palette, and then I'm going to UCS it object and then fit it on top of the rafter, and again a roll dissection from node point to node point. Again, make sure you set your model role, and I'm going to do a quick manual move and move the rafter 400 millimeters down. I'm going to set the UCS again on this rafter, roll dissection from node to node, and again just ensure that I'm setting my model roll, and then I'm going to move that 400 down my rafter. I'm going to use the copy command. I'm going to use just a standard AutoCAD copy, but you could use transform elements, or you could use the advanced copy, and I'm going to copy from the node point at the bottom of each of the columns, and we position there. I've actually copied too many times, so I'm just going to take the additional rafters out. So now we get into, I want to put on a single-sided end plate, so it's column to the tie beam, and then I can just have a little play. So the bolts, I'm going to say, are 16, and we'll put 50 mil spacing between, so it just puts a very simple base plate in. So one key thing to look at is that typically you could expect to select the joint and right click and click propagate joint. Now what will happen, it will place that joint on everywhere it sees a single end plate and a column. And the problem I have with that is that it will do it both sides, so actually there's a duplicate connection there, which is not really going to work. So I'm just going to undo that, and I'm going to say in this instance actually don't propagate the joint. I'm just going to go back to the old way where we actually just use joint copy. So I've got a single joint copy, but I'm going to do a joint copy multiple. So I'm going to select my joint, right click, and then select all my first beams, which is the 3 columns, which is there. Then I select my tie beam there, there, and there. If we look at the double, I can select column 1, 2. Again, I can have a quick look at the bolt and say, okay, it's a 16 mil vertical bolts, let's just put it 50 mil between again. And again, I'm going to go to a joint copy multiple, select my connection, then all connection ones, which is the major columns, which is the first 5. Then I select my selection set 1, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then selection set 2. And that should copy the connection across, and I can repeat the same process. So single-sided end plate to here. Again, it will notch, and I'm just going to quickly adjust there and there. And then I can do, if you want, you can do a single joint copy if you're more comfortable. So a single joint, select bolt, and then you can just go around if you wish and do each of them individually. And we can go double-sided if we wish, so 1, 2, and then 3, and quickly adjust our connections and our vertical bolts. And then if you want to do a single or a multiple, you can. I'll quickly just go around and do them singly. So it will be selection 1, 2, then 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and there you have it. Very quickly, portal frame, tie beams all done. I think I'm going to throw on some cold rolled purlins, so I can do that. There is a cold rolled or a purlin macro, so I can select rafter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I want to select a reference point? I'm going to click no, and then no additional beams, and that should split the cold rolled purlins along there. Tick off my eaves beam, have a look at the alignment, looks okay, and just sort some of the distances, let's say 1200, and there I've got my cold rolled purlins, and I'm going to set this out 500 from the bottom to there, and then I can start placing some connections on. So I can go to the cold rolled single purlin plate, select the rafter, select the end, and I can go in and look at the purlin plate, and I can put an offset in of 300. That will do there. And then again, I've got the same issue that if I propagate the joint, it's going to put it everywhere, and again it's going to put it there where the split is. So again, not a great option. I'm just going to go back and use joint copy multiple. So select my joint, which is rafter, then each of my purlins, and then I can repeat that and do it on the other side. And there we go. If we're doing the double, so I've got a double purlin splice. If you just want to explore it a little bit more, what I want is so I've got a double purlin plate connection, so I can go rafter, selection 1 and 2. Here I can look at maybe putting in a sleeve, tick it on, and we can look at some stays, say they're on both sides, and again you'll see what will happen, and then it's a matter of using joint copy. So in this instance, I'm going to put this on every second one, so select the joint, and then we skip one. So let's just copy that. So we copy this joint up, so it's rafter, so it's rafter, purlin 1, purlin 2, and then we'll do every second one. So that should do that there, and then for every other intermediate one, again, connection vault, double purlin. That where I'm just going to do a standard one where there's no sleeve or stays, so it's just a standard. So we'll leave it at that. Then I can do a joint copy multiple if I wish. Right, and select the joint, then the rafters, then it'll be selection 1 of each one, then selection 2, and there we have. I've probably missed a few, but again I can just do a single joint copy if I wish. And again I've just missed this one. So you can put on the rest of the cold roll, both sides on the walls as well. For now I think that's pretty good. To take this to a fabrication stage, what we usually do is we go and we hit numbering. We select a numbering routine. In this case I'm going to go that the single part for the main part is equal to the assembly number. I'm going to start at 1000 for single parts. Assemblies are going to start at 1. Click OK, and Advance Steel will go off and quickly number all my components. what I can now start to do is start to produce the drawings. So to start, I'm going to produce some general arrangement drawings. I'm going to go UCS view, so I'm going to go UCS world, rotate my model around, UCS view, tools, and I'm going to insert a camera, that position, and then I'm going to choose a camera style. So I select the style drop down and I'm going to go 3D view, all no labels, no scale, and that will insert the camera. Back to UCS, world, rotate it round, UCS to the view, again, insert a camera, that position, link it to a style, no scale, and then go back and set UCS to the world, go on the top view, UCS plan, camera, insert a camera on plan, and I'm going to link this to a stanchion layout so we can get a view of the complete model. Again, not link it to a scale, and let's do one final camera. So UCS back to the world, let's produce a side elevation, link it to the view, go to camera again, position it like this, and let's say we just link it to an elevation, and I'm going to go hot rolled side all. So that's the 4 camera views that I want. I can now start to produce my documentation. So again, I'm going to link my UCS to 0, just go back to the home view on the view cube, take that off perspective. So this is the model. What we can now start to do is produce the drawings. So if we click into drawing processes, we can now start to produce the assembly drawings. So I'm going to use all assemblies, click OK, start at number 100, all main parts, and select OK, and Advance will go off and now generate the drawings. So once the assemblies are created, we can now click the parts. Again, let's go and run off all the part drawings. They're going to start at number 200, all single parts, and we click OK, and Advance will go off and now create all the individual part drawings. So once the single parts, we can now create our camera drawings, all cameras on an A1 sheet. I'm going to start them from camera or from drawing 300, and we click OK. So that's all my drawings. If I want to run off the NC files, click the NC button. That creates the NC files. If I need DXF files, that creates my DXF files. So once I've everything created, I can now use the document manager to view everything. So click your document manager, have a look at the detail side of things, up to date, and we can have a look at each drawing. You can click a preview and it will show you a preview of the drawing. If you want to click into it, double click, and Advance Steel will then open the drawing of beam number 1. Close out of that, don't save it, and if we again look at the document manager, so we have a look at the document manager, we look at the GA drawings. You will see if we expand the preview, there's the GA of the preview, 3D, there's the other 3D, and then the drawing elevation. And we have a look at some of our single parts. There's our rafter. If we look at some of the assemblies, there's the assembly. We look at the rafter drawing. And there we have it. If we scroll down beyond the details, you will see that we now have a section for the DSTV, which is the NC files. We look at the preview, you'll see there's the NC, and then if we check the DXFs, you'll see there we have the preview of each of the individual parts. And just to finish the model off, we can run a bill of material. Again, if we look at the part list, material list summary, Advance Steel will then generate the material list required from the model elements. So there we have it, very quickly, very easily, a model in minutes using Advance Steel 2020.